Welcome back to the Tangent. We're here with only three of us today. Harrison had some other stuff he had to do today, so he's not here. But we got obviously Devin and Tim and myself, James.
Little old James.
Yeah, good old me. We are gonna do a topic today that we've actually discussed through some of our others, but we never really got deep into it.
We did promise to do this a lot, though.
So,
Yes.
since it was promised, we're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to do a Pokemon episode.
Now the real question is, though, will we be able to cap it at this?
No, I have a
Hell
feeling.
no.
I have a feeling that this is going to end up being like
A regular
a
thing we
six-parter or
discuss.
something, where we do a little bit now and a little bit in a few
Yeah,
months.
because I've been around since '95, and honestly, so has Pokemon.
Right.
And they're doing something new like every year.
Oh yeah,
at least,
Pokemon.
so.
Every year, I hear something new from Pokemon.
And honestly, in the last 10 years, they've done even more new stuff every year. Mobile games,
Right.
Look, Pokemon Go
I
happened.
mean,
in
not
the
not
last
just
10
the
years.
not just the new DS game or whatever.
Yeah,
now
not
that they
just
have
the-
it on
the-
the Switch,
The
they're-
mainline games, you know, they're making all kinds of cool stuff. So
Yeah, I remember when I was young and they still were coming out with a bunch of new stuff. I was only really into the mainline games,
Right.
but I still remember they came out with the Pokemon card game video game,
yeah,
which was on
Yeah, they
Game
did
Boy
the
Color or
same,
something.
Yeah,
and
they did the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh. They did a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Well, they
game
still
video
make the
game.
Yu-Gi-Oh
and
card
I played.
games.
Yeah, they
But-
still do, and I'll play.
And
the
a lot
crap
of them
out
are
it,
actually still really
honestly.
popular, but they also made random things like Pokemon Pinball, which I don't think anyone ever really remembers.
I remember
I
that
remember
actually
it.
because
I don't remember it being very
Uh,
popular, but I remember.
I
it.
had I had a copy that was
But-
given to me by a friend in my neighborhood, and I was just like, sweet. I was super excited because it was Pokemon, and then I put it in my Game Boy, and I was just like, this is so
This
lame.
is just
like
pinball.
I
do
all
remember
about
like
the
when they
mainline.
came out with certain things that we look back at with nostalgia now, like the old original Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A bunch of people bought it, and there's like, what the hell is this? And
Well-
now people look back at it and it's like, this was so cool. There were so many Easter eggs and things, but no one cared at the
Nobody-
time.
well,
really.
not
Yeah,
only
no.
that-
When it was out, I couldn't care less about Pokemon Snap. But like 10 years ago, or I don't know how long ago it was, but we
Pulled it
when
back out.
Yeah, we pulled it back out and played it, and it was like,
There
man,
was
this
a bunch
is amazing.
there's a bunch of little things that they hid in that game
Yeah.
that nobody knew was there.
Like, oh hey, if you throw
And
this
then-
apple and knock that Charmeleon
Right.
into the volcano, a Charizard comes out.
Right.
Right, little things, and to pick up, and everybody's like, well, all you're doing is taking pictures. It's not just about taking pictures, it's about finding the little nuances that they add
Yeah.
to the game by, if you throw an apple here, it causes this other Pokemon
Yeah.
to come out.
Right. And like you had to evolve a Magikarp by knocking it into a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and make it into
And
a
like you
Gyarados
said, the
and,
Charmeleon that you
Yeah.
knocked into the volcano. And
Yeah, you
Charizard
gotta be on the
popped up.
lookout for all three legendary birds throughout everything. You
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
look for like a specific silhouette in stars of Mewtwo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a
Like
lot of
the-
cool stuff.
yeah.
And the thing is that it was so innovative, but nobody saw it until later. Like,
Yeah.
other people had to play that game forever and
And
ever
I-
to find the
I
little
can tell you
things.
right now, if I hadn't pulled it back out and played it a couple years ago when we all did, I wouldn't have really been that excited when I saw that trailer for the remake,
The new
because
Pokemon
I'm
stuff.
hyped to the max with everything
Yeah,
that they
there's
got
a lot
in there.
of people now that I keep hearing like, "Oh, Pokemon Snap's coming back," and I'm like,
Right.
"Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, when's the release date?" Well, we don't have a release
Yeah,
date yet,
oh,
but
come
you
on.
can pre-order it.
What are you new to this? What are
So,
you new to this?
Didn't they not that long ago release a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game? And like the Mystery Dungeon games have their own huge cult following.
Yes, they do. They're very like. It took me a minute to really get into the Mystery Dungeon games because I was just super like I didn't want anything other than the mainline games.
Yeah,
Just
straight up. Yeah, straight up.
get a
Pokemon.
level 5 starter and go tank everybody.
Right.
You
When
know?
it came to the video games, I was really only about mainline games for the most part.
But I remember, I think I got like one of the Mystery Dungeon games a couple years like after the fact that it had started and come out and whatnot, and I played through it and I was just like, man, this is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Just the idea of the game is awesome because you get to be a Pokemon.
Right. I mean,
Like
I never got
Pokemon
around-
that has thoughts and dialogue and
Yeah, they all
this.
talk to each other and stuff.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool.
I think I was there with you when you picked that up,
Yeah.
and I was asking you what it was about, and you kind of explained it to me. I was like, it seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, for me though, Pokemon was never as big to me as it was to you two.
Oh,
Now, I did play the card game when it first came out. We had a Wizards of the Coast store in California, in the mall,
Yeah.
in California where I lived at the time. And we walked in one day because it's Wizards of the Coast. You can't not go into that place if you're nerds like us. I mean, that's just one of those things.
It's,
Right, I
it's
mean,
written in law,
WotC
right? It's in the
is-
Constitution.
WotC is to this day still one of the biggest just nerd assemblages. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been getting into some back and forths and getting themselves into some trouble lately. But I mean,
So we walked in there, and the guy behind the counter, because I was with my girlfriend and her sister at the time, and we walked in there, and the guy behind the counter said, "Hey, have you guys heard about this new card game that they released? It's called Pokemon. It's really big in Japan, and they released it here in the United States." So we started looking at it. He had some already open packages. We got to look at some of the cards, and he kind of went through the basics of how to play.
yeah,
I mean, for a really weird reason, it was really slow that day in the store, so he had plenty of time to sit with us, and we sat and chatted for an hour and a half. And then, next thing you know, I'm buying starter decks. So these little decks that were pre-packaged starter decks.
yeah, precons.
So they were like $10 a piece. So I bought a couple of them for me and my girl, and I was like, well, her sister there, I bought one for her too, and
Yeah,
we all picked different, the grass or the water or fire, because they had a couple different types, so we chose the ones we wanted. We went home, we opened them up, they gave us counters, they gave us coins, they gave us everything we need, even a little paper mat
yeah.
to teach us how to start playing with all the rules we needed. So we sat there for the rest of that day on the living room floor learning how to play this Pokemon card game.
Right. That's
And we
awesome.
battled each other with the cards that we had, and then next thing you know, I'm thousands of dollars deep into freaking Pokemon card game stuff because I would just go buy booster packs and whatever things like that we could. I ended up buying multiple full closed sealed cellophane boxes of them, and you were guaranteed one of the 3 starter evolutions foil. So either a Venusaur foil or a Blastoise foil or a Charizard foil. Well, I ended up with 2 Venusaurs and a Charizard after putting $300 in and getting 3 boxes.
Yeah.
And I was able to build my fire deck
Like
with Charizard.
I have no idea where my Pokemon cards went.
I know mine are.
I know that at one point in time I had a foil Blastoise, which was the king of my collection because Blastoise was my favorite Pokemon at the time, and I traded some ridiculous stuff to try and get that thing.
Oh,
But-
see, I got
But
lucky.
the thing
and
is, when me and my friends were all young and the Pokemon card game was first coming out, basically none of us knew how to play. We were just collecting stuff. We didn't figure
Yeah.
out until a couple years later like what the actual like broken good cards were.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Because the first set of Pokemon, the broken good cards were, and I can name both of them. If you put both of these things in your deck, you were already well on your way to making a good deck. And it was Mr. Mime and Professor Oak.
yes, yes.
Because and anyone who plays Magic the Gathering, because we were talking about WotC, that's a thing that WotC puts out. Professor Oak was Ancestral Recall, which is considered one of the most powerful cards in Magic ever. All it is draw 3 cards,
Right.
and one for 3 is a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
Because it gives you that chance
Definitely.
to pop your your strong card. Like for instance, I would have to wait for Charizard because I only had one, and I had a 66 card deck. Now 60 was the minimum, and you could have anything more than that. But once if you ever ran out of cards, you lost.
Yeah.
So I had a 66 card deck because I added a few things in here and there, and I basically had all the energies and stuff that I needed. That I knew how to, gather. But the hardest part was when was I going to pull Charizard? Because I had multiple Charmanders. Because you have to have a Charmander to start, and you have to evolve. So I had to find that Charizard. So I had 2 Professor Oaks in my deck.
Yeah.
So I could draw 3 cards.
Right, there you go.
Times.
Professor Oak was one of those power cards that no one realized was a power card until like
it
got restricted.
So
I don't even remember what
me,
Mr. Mime does.
Being
Mr. Mime, I could probably look it up, but one of his powers was Barrier. He could just stop damage.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that was just his whole, and he I don't even think he attacked the opposing Pokemon. I think he attacked their bench. So it didn't matter what obnoxiously awesome Pokemon you had. He would just block damage and take out Pokemon on your bench,
right,
and get prizes because you need 6 prizes to win the game. And so he would just clear your bench and get prizes for that, and just block all your damage.
Right.
He just
OP broken as
And he was a base level Pokemon, so you didn't have to evolve him. You just had to draw him and play him.
So throughout my collecting, on top of being able to build decks with the cards I was getting, I set aside a full 175 cards or something was the original set.
Right.
Yeah.
I had them all except for Blastoise.
Really?
Funny is because my brother over here had Blastoise, but he was in a different state.
Yeah. And what's funny is when I was a kid, you sent me a little like promo Pokemon card game like box.
Yeah, it was an electric.
It had some packs in it and stuff. And my mom was like, be nice to your cousin, because our cousin Brittany was like over at the house for some reason, and it was like, be nice and give her a pack. And I was like, okay. So I just picked one randomly and tossed it at her. And I opened up all my packs, and it was basically all just like normal garbage. She opened up the one pack that I gave her, and it was a foil Charizard.
No
way.
Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah.
Dude, that's so crazy that I sent that to you. It was like a birthday or
it was a birthday. It was a birthday present.
Yeah, it was one thing I'd always tried to do because I didn't live in the state with him.
The thing is, at the time, I really didn't care. I was like, oh, that's cool, because she really liked Charizard and I didn't.
Gotcha.
So I was just like, oh, that's cool.
One thing I remember as a kid, and it was mostly with Yu-Gi-Oh! More than Pokemon, because, like, for me, I was one of the only kids in my neighborhood my age, because I'm several years younger than even Tim. Tim's like my brother's age, so my brother taught me how to play the game, and everybody else just knew how to, hey, I want that card because I don't have it. Thing.
Right.
So, like, I wasn't about to teach the whole neighborhood how to Pokemon, you know? I was just like, whatever, y'all can not play, and I'll just collect too.
Yeah.
But I remember it got to a point where I was just like, no, I don't want to buy anybody cards for their birthday or any of that. I don't want to I don't want to go to the store and put my good luck magic on this pack of cards and then give it to them,
right?
Because then they're gonna beat me. Because they got better cards than me, because I went and got them some cards. Like, it always happened like that. I remember as a kid, I was, that's when I knew I was a selfish asshole.
The Pokemon card game is one of those things that I remember, like, when I was young, because my mom used to offer to buy me Pokemon cards, and I was like, no, I mean, you don't really have to. And then it's like, and then looking back at it, I was like, man, I should have just taken the advantage of that at every opportunity that she offered. I would have had, like, every card all the way through Jungle.
Right.
Well, right, and the thing is that I stopped after the first series.
Yeah.
I lost all my Pokemon cards in a breakup. My ex-girlfriend, the girl I dated in California, has all of my cards, every single one of them. Because when it all went down, I didn't want anything in my house that reminded me of her. I just told her to freaking take everything.
Dang.
Now that I look back on it, I could have probably made at least a 95 to 96% complete first edition Pokemon set
Yeah.
Yeah.
out of just the doubles that we had.
So basically, we all have a woefully sad story about why we don't have our Pokemon cards anymore.
Yeah, and the thing is,
I had so many.
I didn't really get into card games until I got into Magic, and the only other card game I really got into was the Dragon Ball Z trading card game, which
Really?
I don't think anyone remembers existed.
Yeah,
I do,
no,
because you tried to teach me how to play one.
I don't think I've ever really ran into anybody else who knows about that.
Because it was a really weird game because
It was.
you didn't have life. Your life was your deck.
Yeah.
And you would deal damage to your opponent, and you would deal damage in the form of cards, and they would have to mill the top cards of their deck, and when they ran out of cards, they would die. And that was the thing, because I went to a couple tournaments, and everyone was all about the energy attacks, because you had energy attacks and physical attacks.
Okay.
Energy attacks cost you, like, because you had your main character, and you had the scouter on him, and it would tell you what his power level was. And it had like 10 slots, and you would start at blah blah blah, and you would when you used an energy attack, it cost you 2 slots.
Right.
And when you dealt physical damage, it would do slot damage, and then when they hit the bottom, you would start doing card damage. And that was my strategy. Was if I got into, a battle with someone, and they're sitting here trying to focus on energy attacks, and the strategy was to use a weaker main character than your opponent, because if you were such and such amount weaker, you started at the top of your power,
Right, the advantage.
and they would start at 2 instead of the normal 5.
Nice.
And I was like, I don't care, because my power level at 2 is still like a bajillion times more than you at 10, and I do one physical attack, and suddenly you're all the way down at 0.
Right.
And then I milled some cards, and then they would have to, just do like one energy attack a turn, and I would just annihilate them in the face with, I think it was like blue drill attack or something. It was like, it did 8+ damage, and
You're out here
It's so-
beating people with like Birder from the freaking Ginyu Force or something.
It's so funny, no matter what topic we talk about, Dragon Ball Z always gets
Dude,
brought
always.
up. Always gets brought up somehow.
We are the new Dragon Ball
so,
Evolution
since
podcast.
Harrison's not here, we'll just say Dragon Ball Evolution. once.
Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Evolution for
for the sake of
the
Harrison.
But
Not
I will
here.
say, if you guys are out there thinking about, I'm kind of interested by this Dragon Ball Z card game, don't bother. It burned itself out really bad, because
Yeah.
it came out with sets really, really fast, and the sets were based off of the arcs in the show.
Right.
So there's only so many arcs in the show.
Right.
They ran out of arcs really fast.
You can't-
That was the whole card game. It was done.
You can't find anything after like Super Saiyan 3 Goku beating the crap out of Majin Buu.
So
Well, they eventually tried to go into GT after that, when the GT game and the Z game were compatible, and you can play them all together.
Really?
Yeah, but GT has like a quarter the number of arcs that Z did.
Oh, yeah,
so
GT's
it didn't extend
only-
the game that much longer.
GT's only 60 episodes.
Yeah. Like,
But anyway, so that's the card side of Pokemon for
Right.
us. I mean,
That's pretty.
without
good
jumping straight
conversation.
into the video games, which you guys will probably talk about forever. I mean, what about the TV show? I mean, have you? Tim and I were talking at breakfast this
So,
morning that he's
the-
seen them all up through like a certain.
the very end of Alola, I haven't seen.
So
Everything up to then, I have.
I don't necessarily like watch the show like through the seasons. I mean, it depends, because like for me, I'm gonna show favoritism and bias, because like I'm not watching the show when it comes out anyways. It doesn't matter. Like if,
Right.
if it's like I watched whichever part of the show where he did the Diamond and Pearl region, Sinnoh, when he was
Yeah.
in Sinnoh. I watched Sinnoh because I liked that region and the Pokemon in it.
Well, that section of the anime is actually really good.
Yeah, and
Diamond and Pearl and X and Y are the best parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Of the
and
show
I really
ever.
liked X and
X
Y
and Y
in that
was good,
region
too.
too. So like I watched what I
And
was
it
interested
really,
in.
it really saddens me, because the black and white section of the show is not very good. But black and white at the time were my favorite games.
And that's interesting, because like a lot of people like black and white, but I really don't.
I've never met anyone else that liked the black and white TV show.
Really? I see a lot of
everyone's
people
just like,
that
I hate Iris, and it's just like, well, yeah, she's annoying and dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like a lot of people
And there's
like
and
the
Ash
games-
was dumb in that series. Like, yep, he
Ash
was
is
also dumb.
Yeah.
Ash is dumb in most
Yeah,
of them.
No, I mean
but-
he was extra dumb.
Why are you
So-
watching anime if you don't want a dumb main
back
character?
back to when the Pokemon card game came out. The TV shows came out shortly after.
There's right above
They
the
used to
so-
play that a
No,
double.
the TV show came out first, technically.
Did it first come out
And
first?
the reason why I know this is because my original exposure to Pokemon was a buddy of mine named Nick got a promo video in the mail for Pokemon, and it was the first episode of the TV show, which was not airing yet. They apparently just set these out randomly to houses they thought had kids in them.
Wow.
Interesting.
So he put it in, and he was
Nice.
like, "Dude, watch this. It looks pretty interesting." It wasn't for another like 6 or 7 months that the video games came out.
Yeah.
So, well, either way, my thing is that all of a sudden this cartoon came on, and they were playing like a double run of it after school, like the after school TV show. They were doing like an hour, so it'd be 2 episodes, and we would sit there for an hour and watch through the Pokemon because it was freaking awesome. The very first season of Pokemon to me was captivating. Now I'm not a big into anime and stuff like that, but this is stuff coming over from Japan almost directly, and
Yeah,
it did
honestly, it was
amazing.
It was before the big anime craze, and people started really differentiating
Explore, yeah,
between anime and cartoons.
Right.
It was really that point in time where everyone was just like, "It's just a cartoon."
Right.
So like that Dragon Ball Z, even like old school anime like Speed Racer and stuff. No one differentiated them from cartoons. It was just their cartoons.
There's still
Right.
a lot of people that don't differentiate it even now.
Right.
Oh,
you know?
I know the difference.
Unless you
Well, with those specific ones, like a lot of people, you can go up to somebody on the street right now, and hey, is Dragon Ball Z a cartoon or an anime? They're gonna say,
if they even know what Dragon
what's
Ball
the
Z
difference
is.
Or, you know, what's the difference?
For me, it was the art style. Like growing up, I had cartoons.
Yeah.
That were like Scooby Doo, He-Man, G.I. Joe. Those are the cartoons I grew up with. Those are cartoons. Now, when they went into this new style, I'm like, okay, this is different, but it's still a cartoon. And then when they actually put a label on it, I was like, I get it. I never realized that. I mean, I knew Pokemon was from Japan.
Yeah.
I only knew that through the talking.
But
of
so
some
the thing is, like,
people I knew.
even when it comes to like style differences between cartoons, like I know people talk about how like the original Thundercats had a lot of anime influences, but the differences in animation style between Thundercats and He-Man are not that big.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, because if you look at He-Man, Thundercats, and G.I. Joe,
Oh yeah,
they have the same artistic style.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at, like, Thundercats and Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball even, any of those, either one of those, you can see
Night
a
and day
very
difference.
distinctive artistic style difference.
yeah.
I mean, and a storytelling difference.
Because
Because in Dragon Ball, it wasn't just about everything had to be completed in a 30-minute episode.
Right.
He completed a bunch of stuff within
Yeah.
a 30-minute episode.
I think that's
But the whole overarching story lasted a couple hundred
Right.
episodes.
It was serialized versus episodic. And
Yeah.
that
yeah,
was-
yeah, and
And
I
that's
think
something
that's
that
one of the
anime
big
has
difference. Yeah, in anime
And anime,
cartoons.
I'm going to tell you the truth, anime as a storytelling platform has influenced not just, the way things are, like regular TV shows do that same kind of storytelling now, to where it's not just, one and done, like an hour-long TV show will...
This doesn't connect
Start
until you get to the
incomplete.
season
Right.
finale kind of thing.
Like, there's
No,
things that
it's
are,
all
they'll
important.
start and complete a full story within an hour.
Yeah.
Now they're doing these things where there's like, after an hour, you're still not complete with the story. You got to continue on to the next hour and the next hour, and it could be a
So what
13
you're saying
part.
is Goku's still on Snake Way? Alright.
Yeah,
Next
Right.
episode.
right.
But just on a weird topic, since we're on cartoons and being episodic versus serialized, Critical Role, for anyone who doesn't know, Critical Role is a D&D live play show on YouTube and Twitch that's run by a bunch of voice actors.
Nerdy voice actors.
Right. They got picked up by Amazon Prime to do an anime style show of their first campaign.
That's amazing. I've been wanting something like that
seriously?
for
Seriously.
years. I
So-
want somebody to just do D&D
No,
animated.
what's funny is they originally started as a Kickstarter to try and see if they could put out I think it was like their original goal was like 5 episodes, and it was just going to be a little like origins of Vox Machina thing, and they actually broke all the records for Kickstarter, and they ended up for the longest time being like the number 2 highest donated to Kickstarter.
Really?
I think they're actually number 1 now. And then as a result, they just like sort of had this giant pile of I think it was like 13 point something million dollars. And Amazon Prime was just like, how about we throw in some money, double the number of episodes, and you guys are on Amazon Prime.
Dude, that'll be awesome.
Dude, I'm gonna watch that.
Heck yeah. Dude,
That's
like,
amazing.
so I just watched the,
So I think they're
On
going to
Critical
do
Role-
like 13 episodes. Or
on
something.
Critical Role, speaking
Nice.
of, I know we're totally off topic on a tangent, but this is something I need to say because I'll
That's all right.
forget about it later.
Get it all out of your system. for
They're
now.
coming back at the beginning of July.
Yeah, like July 2nd.
Yeah, so because I just
Nice.
watched the little
Yep.
her 5
Happy
minute
birthday, America.
Yeah, so they're
So-
coming back for their episode 100 of campaign 2
clip. Yes,
on July 2nd.
and they showed the new set with everything going on. They got their social distancing because they used to literally have 2 little tables where 3 people on one
So
side.
it was
4
one
people-
big table with 3 cameras.
Well, what I'm saying is so they had 3 people literally right next to each
Yep.
other,
Yeah,
and 4 people depending on one of the characters coming and going.
I'm a little wary about how it's going to work because a lot of how their interactions worked with they would sit next to the people that they would conspire with in game more
Yeah.
often, and so they would have side talk and they would conspire with each other.
Right.
So
Cool.
so now with all the social distancing, they're all going to be sitting a number of feet away from each other, and I don't know how well that's going to work.
That would be interesting. Yeah, the social distancing, man, is so interesting.
I
to
mean,
see
I'm
how
totally
people handle
down
it.
to watch the new episode when it comes out because it's going to be episode 100 and it's going to be a big deal. And
Right.
you know, it's with all I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but with what's been going on with Ford lately, man, I need to see some stuff.
Right.
So-
Well, see, I started late, so I'm really far behind. But I've been listening here and there whenever I can.
yeah.
But Critical Role is a really good D&D.
And I watched
Setup.
I watched the first 20 or so episodes as they were coming out, and then I stopped for a really long time, and then COVID started, and I didn't have anything else to listen to or watch while I was driving, so I just decided to restart from the beginning, just throw it on YouTube and just drive down the road and just listen and then play, and I got through all of the episodes, and I was like, man, they need to end this stupid virus. They can go back to work.
All right, that's our long tangent on D&D for the moment.
Back to the show. Here.
Back to the
Yeah.
show. Back to the shows of Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon itself has had its own evolutions.
Yeah. I mean,
And that's kind of a pun, but it's not a pun at
the-
the same
the-
time.
one of the easiest and fastest ways to figure that out is to watch the movies.
Yeah.
True. Very
Honestly,
true.
and the movies are all kind of awesome. Like in some
They
some
all
way,
they
shape,
all
or
have
form.
their own thing. And the thing is, I think probably one of the worst movies is the first one.
Yeah. No.
'Cause, I mean, everyone was super excited about it because it was Mewtwo and Mew, and they did all
Oh
this thing.
man,
But
dude, I was
man, that whole thing was so cheesy and dumb.
Everybody in this room knows that I hate going to opening night movies because I hate the crowds. Lately, it's been a little different because I've found theaters nowadays have the choose your seats beforehand.
Yeah, it's
they have the nice
changed, man.
comfy
It's
where
not
you have
the
plenty
same
of room
crap.
between you
Yeah.
and the next person. I just hate being packed in or showing up late and not being able to find a seat. That's my thing. I hated to go into opening weekend, but for Pokemon the movie when it came out, we were there opening night. Watched it. It was one of those things because we are all so into Pokemon
Yeah.
that's just what
So,
we did.
Random side note: AMC before COVID was in trouble, and they were thinking about filing for bankruptcy. Then COVID hit, and they had to shut everything down, so they had no revenue coming in. They are extremely close to filing for bankruptcy. AMC, one of the biggest theaters
Damn.
in the country, is about to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah,
Going to the movie theater is going to be a interesting thing here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Once we can-
the one thing that's actually excelled, which I'm really happy to hear because I'd like to hear of more of them open back up, is the drive-ins.
Yeah.
Because the drive-in over in Illinois
Mm-hmm.
has been booming since this
Right,
whole
because
thing.
the drive-ins were able to stay open.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
already social distancing.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
in your own car. I
Right.
mean, shoot, they even did at the Powerplex, which is the old Mills Mall.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a new
yeah.
sports complex now.
It's called the Powerplex.
It's called the
Is
Powerplex.
that what they call it now?
Yeah. So, but they have that huge parking lot.
Yeah.
So they just turned the parking lot into a concert movie venue to where you just pull in with your car and you can. They were rocking out the concert. So they'd have a concert
Mm-hmm.
and then right after that they'd play a movie. They would do that they were doing that every Friday for a while.
That's awesome.
When the high schools were having issues finding places where they could socially distance and do their graduations, the Powerplex is like, just do it here. The students can still walk the stage, we'll keep them social distance over here, but all the parents and family can just sit in their cars,
Mhm.
pull out, back into a spot, pull out a lawn chair, bring a cooler, have some beers, sit there and watch their kid
Some
graduate.
beers.
Seriously, they were promoting bringing beer and food and having
Let's
a nice
tailgate
picnic.
for the
Heck
graduation
yeah!
party.
And the thing is that everybody that I've ever talked to that went to one of those said that was the best graduation they've ever been to because
Well, because have you been to a
most
graduation?
graduations are boring. Most graduations are boring as hell, and you're
Dude,
sitting
I was
outside.
one of,
or,
like,
the only
Well, I can imagine
graduation.
it's probably the opposite for you. I was one of the first 15 or 20 people to get called across the
Well,
stage.
yeah, our
Your
last
last
name
name's
starting with
Wagner.
W.
Ours is one of the
Seriously,
last.
I sat in a chair for like 3 hours just waiting.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I sat in the chair just like, I already graduated. Can I go now?
Right. Well, I graduated a little different. My class that I was supposed to graduate with was almost 700 people, but I ended up graduating in a smaller school in a different state, so my graduation lasted all of an hour.
Oh,
Right, like
So,
I hated graduation.
but had I sat through the graduation with all my friends that I was supposed to graduate, that lasted all of 3.5 hours to get all almost 700 kids across that stage.
No, but what was weird is for my graduation, like when you do graduation, you had to buy like your cap and gown, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't buy a cap and gown. So I went to the venue and I was talking to them. There's like, "Where's your cap and gown?" And I was like, "I didn't buy one. Can you just give me my diploma and I'll leave?" And they were just like, "Well, if you don't have one, you can't walk." And I was like, "I don't wanna. Can you just give me my diploma and I'll leave?" And they were just like, "No."
Did they make you walk?
They made me walk.
Really?
Did you
Like
walk?
I remember like
Did they give you a cap and gown?
yeah.
Funny.
So and
Was
that
it
was
the right size?
like they yeah.
Oh,
Like they went in like hardcore like
yeah.
fast forward style, like ran through all the spare gowns and caps and found me one. And I was just like, "Are you fucking serious? Like
You
you guys threaten people all year with you're not going to be able to walk, and I ask you to
I did this-
just leave."
You did that on purpose.
I would've
didn't
just
you?
not shown up
knew.
because
they saw
they had
through
the
your
people
bull
that-
crap. They're like, he didn't buy it, so he didn't have to walk.
If I remember correctly, the people that didn't walk had to go pick up their diplomas from the office
Yeah.
later on.
Nowadays,
Why
if
didn't
you're-
you just not go and just go pick up
Yeah,
your
that's-
diploma later?
That's what I was. Nowadays, they just mail it to you if you're not there.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, again, Wow,
Whole
huge
That
tangents
was the most
this
random
episode.
tangent I think we've ever had on record so far. Cause
But,
we just started talking about graduation, but
Yeah.
something I've been wanting to say for like 20 minutes since we're still on the topic of the show. Something I just came across in the last week. They're doing this new show called Pokemon Journeys, which I'm not really sure if it's gonna like focus on a whole like one story throughout the show. But they've talked about
They've
how
been very unclear about what the hell's going on.
I know for sure that the first episode, though, is about Ash's Pikachu before he was a Pikachu and before he was Ash's. He was a little Pichu.
Before he was a Pikachu? What was he?
a Pichu.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like a Miltank.
Yeah, before he was reincarnated as a Pikachu in his previous life.
Marshall's been watching it, but he hasn't watched it here. He watches black and white when he's here.
Well, I don't know if the first episode's actually been released.
It's on Netflix.
Journeys?
Yeah.
Already?
I don't know how many episodes are on there, but it's on there because Marshall's been watching it.
It wasn't just well, I know he's been doing whatever the hell the Alolan one is.
Yeah, he likes the
finished that
X.
one, though.
What was it? X, Y, and Z.
Oh, that's because X and Y and X, Y, and Z were like the best.
Yeah,
the best
he's
series
been
of the
he's been
anime.
watching
Yeah,
those.
they're
I think he
amazing.
went through X, Y season 1 and season 2. I think he went through it like 4 times.
Really? Well, he watched Sun and Moon like 6 or 7 times too.
And
The thing
yeah,
is,
Sun and Moon.
the thing is, Sun and Moon, in terms of like the story and everything and the characters, isn't bad. I really hate the animation.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody says.
Maybe it's
Because
Sun
they-
and Moon that I'm thinking of that he went through like 4
Yeah,
times.
he watched it a bunch of times, man. He just kind of
I understand why they went with that animation style because it's cheaper.
yeah, so cheap.
That's
That's
the
the
alone
problem,
region.
yeah.
Sun and Moon is the alone. Okay,
It's the
so
one
then
with
that's
like
one.
like me at
Where-
age 11 could draw this crap better than
right.
Well, because they're not
I
drawing. it.
did
Yeah.
like the way.
The entire show. It looks like drawn stuff, but it's all computer.
right.
Because
Yeah.
it's the method they use for like that Yokai Watch show.
Yeah.
It's all computers. Like you just like run it.
Well,
It's-
yeah,
it's
you can
super
even
fast.
tell, like, right, another kind of off topic, but I'll make it brief and we'll switch right back. Because, like, in Naruto, the animation for the sequel show, Boruto, is, like, hella cartoony and childy and stuff. And, like, people have the exact same complaints because it's not actually drawn.
So they were kind of trying to re-gear towards the younger crowd to pull more of the younger crowd in.
Yeah, and I think
Because,
that might have been
like, a
another
lot
part
of-
of the strategy. With
That's
Sun
the
and
one
Moon.
thing about certain
I
animes,
think the
including
strategy I think was actually with Sun and Moon was because Yokai Watch was more popular than Pokemon for a while. They went to the Yokai Watch style of animation to try and get people to move over.
I mean,
Right.
at this point, the
The
thing
thing
is with
yeah.
the show is like, how do you expect people to be that into the show because it's been around for like 20 years? And
Well, they're
like,
trying to pull the younger crowd in.
Yeah.
They're trying to pull the crowd of kids that weren't even anywhere like the kids of the people who originally watched.
Yeah.
So like my son, because like I originally watched, I was in my 20s when I watched it. So my kids, they're trying to pull that generation in to the Pokemon realm.
right.
Which I ain't gonna lie. I mean, the Pokemon creators have done a damn good job of pulling in even the younger generations.
Oh, yeah.
Every
Well,
time
you know
they
what?
release something new, the kids are getting younger and younger, coming in buying the older Pokemon games
Yeah.
for their DS. I mean,
Right.
there's like
they want to experience what the
what
older
it was
fans
originally,
experience.
right?
Yeah.
Because they played Sword and Shield on their Switch, and they're like, "Well, I have a DS. They have these games on the DS too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's go get them." And trust me, the parents are like doing the $30 for an old game that's 15 years old now.
Yeah, and then
So,
watch
yeah.
your son enjoy
Yeah,
the
buy
freaking
it when
crap
it's
out
still
of his
only
life. for the
$30.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Watch your
$30.
son
You know why?
enjoy
It's
the
because
crap
they're
out of his life for $30.
Yeah, because they are sought after. People still want them.
Yeah.
There are some that are $40, like the
Yeah, no, you buy the new
Pearl.
ones and they're like 50. You buy the fucking freaking.
It's all
Uh,
good.
you buy the freaking games from 10 years ago and they're 40. It's like, dang, they're still going for this much money
Yes.
because they're still sought after.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like to this day. I mean, we did the whole game of the decade,
Mhm.
and you know, Breath of the Wild won that. Well, Breath of the Wild's what, 5 years old now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if not more or less. I know it's around 5 years old now. It's still selling new for $60. They're
Nin-
still making new copies of this,
Nintendo knows how to make franchises.
and they
that's
are
for sure.
still selling for
That
$60.
people will still buy it even if, you know...
That game will go for $60 until they release the sequel, and I don't even know if
And
that's even going to
That's
happen.
kind of what just gaming does now. I mean, look, freaking Grand Theft Auto 5
yeah.
and still 4 even, I think, is still making an enormous amount of
Yeah,
money.
but they're cheap though to buy now.
Yeah, I know that.
Five is down to $20.
Right.
You can spend I think an extra 10, and it gives you all the
Yeah.
paid for DLC.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
But,
still,
the
like,
thing
it's-
is that the thing about Rockstar and what Rockstar has done that no other game has done is they're supporting the online. They are putting out new content for online, the online game side of it, all the time.
Yep.
New missions, new things to do. They're constantly updating.
And
They just recently, I mean, what did we say? 7 or 8 years it's been released. Five has been out for about 7 or 8 years. I think we figured out. They're just now talking about building a 6.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of something that a lot, like I said, a lot of games are doing stuff like that. Like Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is the first time Pokemon's ever had DLC before. But
I mean,
honestly,
it's the first time it's been on
Like
a
a-
system where it's readily accessible to get DLC.
right? Yeah.
And I honestly, I kind of like the DLC format better
Yeah.
because it used to be you had your editions, you had your
Yeah.
you're this one and you're that one, and then you would have your complete edition, which would be one game with
yeah, where it would
and then
be-
eventually they went to the 2-game system where you would have the 2 expanded editions,
Right.
and those were okay. And now they're doing the 2 games as normal, and they're going to do DLC, and I'd like that format a lot better because now you're paying less because you're not buying a whole new set of games.
Right. And my I played the Dragon Ball Xenoverse games. Back to Dragon Ball Z, guys, for a second here. I played Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 and 2, and one had a little bit of DLC, and then they made the second one, and the second one came out in 2016. Still making money, still releasing DLC every 3 months.
Really?
Adding a new character and just continue and following on to parts of the show that fans
Well-
want to see. I mean, they stopped after a while because the show's not going on anymore, but it'll be coming back soon,
Well,
and I wouldn't be
Nintendo's-
surprised
Well,
if
the-
they either
the-
make a 3 and just continue doing what they did with 2, or they just don't make a 3.
Nintendo
and
knows.
do-
The thing about Nintendo is they know what of their franchises make money.
Right, yeah.
And they have learned along the way that if they do things a certain way, people will buy.
Mm-hmm.
They release, how many Smash Brothers games now?
Right.
Well, the new Smash Brothers, because of their ability to do new formatting like DLC stuff, they probably won't release a new Smash for a while. They're just going to release new characters, new DLC,
Yeah, and
new
I-
things that are going to allow that game to continue.
Yeah.
for
I'm not
years.
one of those people that'll hey, let's play Smash, and then I'll just do a bunch of crazy stuff and absolutely annihilate everybody. Kind of I'm not that good at it, but I enjoy playing it. And I had a Switch for Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, and I was just I'm probably not going to get anything else for this thing until the
Right.
Pokemon
That's-
game comes
yeah,
out. But then
that's exactly
Smash-
what I did.
Smash Brothers Ultimate came out, and I was just all right, I'm buying it.
We'll try it. Yeah, what the heck?
And
I
played
still want them to release a new Metroid game. That's all I really want from
Right.
Nintendo
I
right
still
now.
am not. I still have not found anything on the Switch that has compelled me to want to buy one.
and
That's just me, and everybody knows my gaming style. I will stick to my PlayStation.
yeah,
I'm still on the fence about buying a PlayStation 5. Not sure yet. But they also haven't released price points.
Have they
Hardware.
said anything about games?
No, and the
Somewhat,
thing
but
is
not-
that they're even talking about going back on what they originally said
With
and
the
it being
backwards
backwards compatibility.
yeah.
Now, the Xbox, so I talked to one person, they said the new Xbox will do the Xbox One and any backwards compatible 360 game. Any of the 360 games that was backwards compatible on the One, they're going to do.
Okay.
But I've also heard from other people that every game in the Microsoft Xbox collection, including the original Xbox, was going to be playable on this new system. Now, that may be true, but I don't think the guy I was talking to probably understood what they meant by that. I bet you could buy the old Xbox games digitally and
the
play
thing
them.
is, I
You're not
would
gonna
be,
be able to
I would
take
be
your-
less. I would be less annoyed at not being backwards compatible, because if you can go into the PlayStation Marketplace and buy a bunch of old PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games.
Digitally.
And the thing
playing
is,
on browser.
if the libraries they had on there were more expansive,
That's
I
the
would be
problem.
less annoyed that they didn't have
Right.
backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
I have that
just-
feeling that when
just-
they said the backwards compatibility for the Xbox was going to be what it was, I think it's going to be they will have every Xbox game
Mhm.
digitally able to be put on the system. I don't think you're going to be able to take an Xbox disc
Yeah.
and put it into the new Xbox
definitely.
system.
That's
and be able to
semantically
play it.
that wouldn't.
I don't think
that would
that's
be
going to happen.
ridiculous,
Now,
yeah.
I am a little upset from what I did hear again from PlayStation 5 that they were going to originally backwards compatible all Xbox 4 games or PlayStation 4 games,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're doing that anymore. I think they're just going to focus on moving forward. Which is kind of but at the same time, I kind of get it.
Well,
Because-
that's probably one of the big reasons. Like, I got a PlayStation 3 in a more timely manner than I got
The 4.
the 4, but the 3 I was also a little wary of, because why did I need it? The majority of the games I was still playing were on the 2. And so I had to wait until there were enough games on the 3 that I actually cared.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when
And-
systems first come out, if they're backwards compatible, I would want to get them immediately so I can just go ahead and have it and be ready for when the good games come out, and I
And
can
that's
continue
the
playing
thing
my games.
about that's the one thing about Nintendo that kind of bugged me after the Wii U. So on the Wii that you were able to play, and you still can play on original Wii, you can play GameCube games,
Yeah,
which was awesome because there are some really good GameCube games that I still enjoy
Mhm.
playing. Like heck, I think I have Mario Golf.
I'm gonna play for freaking
For-
Pokemon Battle Revolution on.
Yeah. So I have a Wii here, and it's mainly for my son. He likes to play some of the old Wii games, which I enjoy playing with him. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, they're actually really.
But
fun.
when they went to the Wii U, none of that stuff was backwards. Like you couldn't play the Wii game. You could play.
you
the
could
Wii.
use the Wii controller to play on your Wii U, but
Well,
none
no,
of the
you could
games-
play the Wii games on there, but it was a little different. Like you had to go into the Wii, you had to go into a different section of it, and yeah, you could play it. So it was backwards compatible. But beyond that, now the new Switch is out. None of that stuff because everything was on a disc for that. The Switch
Yeah.
is all cartridge based.
yeah.
because it's basically.
So those
like-
three systems were awesome because the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U were all you could play them all. I don't think you could play a GameCube game on the Wii U, but
Yeah,
I
but
knew that
mean, like,
we were
the,
playing Wii games on the Wii U because
the cross
we had the
playability
Wii
was
U.
still there between the three systems. You know?
and Xbox One was able to
do
pull
lot
a
that
bunch of the
stuff
360
with
games
compatible.
over,
Right.
but I was never able to do that with the PlayStation.
Right.
Which is why I still have a PlayStation 2, so I can play PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't get a PlayStation 3 until like a year before the PlayStation 4 came out. And then I've had a PlayStation 4 for like 3 years, so I guess I got that a lot quicker. But that was because of like again, they're like the PlayStation's good and Sony's good because they steal my money.
Well,
Right, like I've had a PlayStation 4 now since about the beginning of COVID, and
yeah, I remember you bought it. I remember when you bought it because I
Anyways.
found you a good deal on a Pro.
right,
But we got off on another one of our tangents.
Definitely.
On game consoles, and it all started with Pokemon. So
Yeah. And I slipped in some Pokemon comments anyways. Like, you can play a couple of Pokemon games on the GameCube, even, that we really probably wouldn't have mentioned. Like Dance Revolution, or Battle Revolution.
yeah,
And then I think there's like a couple of Ranger games and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, that was one thing really cool that they did with the S. Was it the S or is it 64? It was either the SNES or the 64. They built that one game where you could actually put your Pokemon game into,
yeah.
and you could play the game on the screen, but it went from the full screen
Right.
to this little bitty screen, and you played your game on.
oh yeah, they're-
But it was like it was mainly wasn't it just like at some kind of battle arena or something?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had the Super Game Boy on the Super NES where you could just play Game Boy games on the Super NES.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that what it was?
You had that, and then there was some stuff for Pokemon games that were on like the GameCube. They had like accessories where you could put stuff in, and it was kind of weird.
Yeah, GameCube and N64 had some stuff like that going on with Stadium, and Battle Revolution was essentially kind of like Stadium over again. But speaking of the DLC, I played through the first part of it because basically, so for Sword and Shield, you get 2 expansion packs or 2 DLC storylines and added post games.
So is it added story to what was there, or is it just post game stuff?
It's mostly, I would say it's mostly post game. It has story, but it's not really connected to anything you did in the game. It's, so like it's the Isle of Armor is the first part that they just released like last week, and you go to a completely different, like, if you played it, the wild area, the big super huge area where you can just get lost for like 12 hours straight, like I did.
Most people did.
The
from what
Isle
I
of
heard.
Armor is basically the same thing, except they have Galar Pokemon there. They have like you can go catch some Pokemon from like Gen 1 from Kanto. You can do some little fun side stuff. Like there's this Diglett guy that's like, hey, I have like 9,000 Diglett across the freaking Isle of Armor that are kind of hiding somewhat underground with their 3 little hairs picking out. So if you could go freaking find those for me, and
How many of them were there?
There's like 151 or something like that
No
out there, but like
way.
I found like 50 or 60 so far, and that's the
and
part
that's just
that-
an exploration.
Yeah, you just walk around
Adventure.
on the ground, and then there's like a cool little story where you end up like being part of this dojo, and they give you a super cool Pokemon. And now that Pokemon is part of my team. They gave it to me at level 10 on last Friday, and it is now level 91.
Jesus. So you've been playing a little bit.
I've been
over the
playing
weekend.
it like the actual story part of it, like with the where you acquire the Pokemon and go through the whole dojo deal and whatnot, it's pretty brief for someone like me. Like, I'm a content fiend, so like once I'm like, oh, content, I'll just devour it immediately. Like that's kind of just how I do things. I have no patience for stuff like that. I just want to get through it. Like, I watched like 700 episodes of Naruto in like 4 weeks.
Jeez. That's a lot of Naruto.
And that's while I was working like full time, and at that time I had like other people that I had to pay attention to.
Yeah,
like a girlfriend.
Did you didn't have a second job at that point?
Right around the time that I started watching it, I did, but I didn't keep it for very long
Gotcha. But
because Naruto was more important.
So
what?
I mean,
But so I probably got through the story. Like, first of all, when I first got there to the DLC, I just messed around. Like, I goofed around for a long time because I knew that once I got started on the story, I was gonna get one track minded, and then I wouldn't want to come back and do all the fun, like, not necessary stuff to complete the actual DLC story.
gotcha.
So, like, I just went around, I went and did max raid battles because now they got a bunch of new rare Pokemon in the max raid battles and stuff like that, and, like, that's the easiest way to level up your Pokemon is doing the max raid battles, and then if I saw something, on like, coming at me on the ground, like, oh, that's a cool Pokemon, I'm catching that one.
Right.
You know, and I did that for, like, the first couple of days that I had it, and then I started on that, and they gave me my Cub Fu, and then I went through the story of evolving it, because after they give you the Pokemon, they're like, hey, bring him back once he's your best bud in the whole world. And, you know, it's like Christopher Robin and Pooh Bear, except Pooh Bear evolves into a super dope, like, Kung Fu Bear.
Awesome. So is that a newer Pokemon?
Yeah, it's exclusive to the DLC. You don't get it unless you get the DLC.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
I'm thinking that they're probably going to do something similar in the second part of the DLC, which is Crown Tundra, I think. And
So there's another DLC coming.
yes, and it like the expansion pack's like $30, and if you get the expansion pack, you get both of them. So
Oh,
whenever,
bad.
I think it's probably going to be fall or winter or something
Well,
like that.
That'll
and-
push a lot of the people who are wanting more Pokemon content.
Yeah, and
It gives them something to do for a little bit.
if you can just sit there and enjoy the little nuances of it and everything like that for before you jump into the huge like storyline, I feel like you will definitely get your money's worth out of it. I would say if you're getting 2 for the price of 30, even though I breezed through the freaking content, it's well worth $15 just for that. Even though I don't think you can get them unless you buy them together. I'm not 100% sure because I would never not buy them together anyways because like I
it's
said,
Pokemon content.
I'm a content fiend and Pokemon is one of the best content for me to consume. It's
right.
It's
So-
a favorite of mine.
So, into the game parts of it, we're gonna probably cut this one here shortly, and we're gonna go full game mode
Yeah.
next episode, because there's a lot of content when it comes to starting from red and blue and yellow
Oh yeah.
and moving forward. So we're gonna go ahead and do that in its own episode, but
Right.
just real quick, like, of all the games that have come out, including Sword and Shield and its DLC, what are your favorites to play and go back over and do again?
I definitely have to put X and Y somewhere in the conversation, if not just like probably would be my go-to if I were to replay any of them. Because I wouldn't put Sword and Shield on that list because I haven't finished playing my
Well, 'cause
first
there's
playthrough
more.
of Sword and Shield, you know, so there's still more for me to do and more for me to wait for at this point now because
But
I
X
have
and Y
a
was
couple of
the-
months, but
They changed. They changed everything.
it's a so funny thing, right quick. Some like publisher for like game reviews or something like that said something about X and Y, and it was like it was good, but it still feels like a Pokemon game. And I was like, wait a second.
It's supposed to feel like a Pokemon game.
Yeah, wait.
You know why?
because
it's a Pokemon game.
I've never once been like, yo, this Pokemon game
Yeah.
is way too Pokemon.
Right, you
Like-
play a Pokemon game because you want to play a
When am I
Pokemon
gonna
game.
see some dude like pull up beside me and pull out an Uzi and shoot me in the face like GTA?
Right, like it's like if people wanted to play a Pokemon game that didn't feel like a Pokemon game, we already talked about Pokemon Pinball.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
play. Go play.
Those
Pokemon,
games exist.
Go play Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Pinball and that stuff.
Right.
Or go
I
play
mean-
the Pokemon card game. But anyways, yeah, I was living with you whenever X and Y came out, and I just like I was with like Sword and Shield, I was just completely enamored with the new adventure, because I was pretty dissatisfied with with Black and White, the games and whatnot, and like for me, there's points no matter what that I'm kind of just gonna get like jaded as a fan, where I just kind of feel like, all right, it's reached the point it can't get any better.
It was getting stale at that point.
So,
then they pulled out the Mega Evolution.
Yeah.
And that's what literally puts that generation of the games above every other for me. Was
I'm gonna say
Mega
I'm gonna say
Evolution
this.
changed it.
I loved Platinum.
And that's another one too.
I loved Black and White, and I loved X and Y, but I used to be like kind of into building competitive teams and breeding competitive teams. And I kind of got out of that for a while. The thing that got me really back into it was ORAS.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Those were the games that I couldn't put down. I just kept playing and breeding and battling and just kept going, and it was those games were so much fun to me.
So I agree. I think I would. They're within the same Generation 6, and
right.
I have to
same
kind
generation as
I have to kind of put those two just in this, like, just that whole generation is the best that Pokemon's been, as far as everything was hit nail on the head perfectly.
Now here's the thing. They basically have they confirmed that they're going to do the Sinnoh remakes? I don't know confirmed. There's no way I'm going to say, hey, it's confirmed, because I don't want to be that idiot that says he's an expert and then right.
says
So but from what I've heard, it's more or less confirmed they're doing Sinnoh remakes. Platinum being one of my favorite games, if they do Sinnoh remakes with the current style of gameplay, my God, I think this is going to be my next ORAS.
Yeah, no, I agree. That, like, remakes are really good. Every time they're like, oh, we're going to remake, like, let's go Eevee and let's go Pikachu.
It takes all the good things that they've improved, takes all the bad things that were in those games that you kind of want to avoid,
all the broken
and just
things.
dumps them all out the window.
Look at Fire Red and Leaf Green, the remakes of basically Red.
There's no
Blue.
reason really to play Red, Blue, and Yellow if you have copies of Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Right, and as enjoyable as just the regular Gold and Silver was, if you have a DS, play Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Right, if you have access to Heart Gold and Soul Silver, there's no reason to go all the way back to Gold and Silver.
It's evolved now, so why
they just take the game and made it better. So
they're like,
so
okay,
if they're gonna do this,
they take the game and they update it, so all the improvements that were made are going to be there.
There's obvious
and
patterns
all the stuff that was the shortcomings are all gone.
With how they make, so like Gen 1 and Gen 2 are kind of they're kind of before the pattern, but they made Gen 3 is the original Ruby and Sapphire, and then the remakes of Red and Blue, which is Fire Leaf and Leaf Green, and like basically it's like a Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald established, this is what the games are now. And then they were like, hey, let's take that old awesome game that you guys loved and make it what the games are now.
Right.
And then so they've done that over and over again, because when they did
we've had a lot of Gen 1 remakes by now. But.
When they did Diamond and Pearl, they did a Gen 2 remake, Soul Silver and Heart Gold, and they were like, here's Gen 2 just revamped with everything that we've added into the game.
So like if you're talking about like taking the Platinum, what is it, Gold and Platinum?
Well, it's Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum.
Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So even if they just take Diamond and Pearl and put it in the new...
Yeah, that's more than likely what we'd get.
And,
it would be like Platinum.
Put them in the new style, like Sword and Shield.
Yeah, they're gonna basically take Gen 4, which is Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and they're gonna move them up to the current gen.
Yeah, catch it up to Gen 8.
You guys would be down for that.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Because they hit it on...
Playing what is essentially Platinum in the style of, Sword and Shield. My God, that would be so great.
I'm getting chills almost thinking about that. Yeah.
So if the makers of the Nintendo Pokemon games hear that,
well, okay,
you have two big fans in the room that want it done.
They've been teasing this for a while. Everyone wants it. And we basically we've been sitting around waiting for the Pokemon Company to go, all right, we've moved forward enough, it's time to make a new set of remakes. Because that's what all the remakes always were. It was, we've made a big leap forward, time to bring another generation up to date.
because
like,
X and
X
Y
and
was
Y,
the-
and then Ruby and Sapphire had theirs, and then
Yeah.
now you got Sword and Shield.
Sword
Like,
and Shield,
every now
but-
and then they'll sneak like
I'm pretty
let's
confident.
stand
I'm
this
pretty
alone.
confident because everyone thought they were going to do Sinnoh remakes when they did Sun and Moon. And
I thought they were doing it when they did X and Y, honestly.
right, yeah, and the thing is, everyone thought they were going to do it, but there wasn't a huge difference between Sun and Moon and X and Y.
Right.
It was not a big
wasn't
leap
a-
forward.
it
But
wasn't a
we're on a
giant
whole
leap.
new system now. We have entirely different graphics engines. We have
it's on a whole
and
new
there's-
system.
And
Yeah,
there's
I mean, that's
there's
essentially
a lot
what
of
it-
there's a lot of Gen 4 Pokemon that are missing from Sword and Shield, and they don't really have any of the pseudo legendaries.
Right.
Like they have like I think 2 now because they added 1 in. I think.
Well, now like playing through the DLC, they have snuck in some cooler older Pokemon, but
Right.
there's not a single Gen 4 game.
there's
Pokemon
a huge
in any of the games
gap
yet.
of Gen 4 Pokemon, and
It
if they
seems like
were
they've done that
to
on
remake
purpose.
Gen 4, that would fill in that huge gap, and it would allow them to sprinkle in some of the stuff that was in Sinnoh that maybe is
it's-
also missing.
Essentially,
Right.
that's looking through it. That's when they do it. Whenever they're like, "Oh, we're jumping to a new system and making a whole new game in the mainline games," we're gonna. Right after that, we're gonna remake one of the older games that was on one of the older systems.
Yeah.
Like they had, like he said, X and Y and Sun and Moon weren't really a huge leap from each other because they were both still on like the 3DS.
Yeah, the 3DS and the same basic platform.
Yeah.
They're just-
So like now they've got Let's Go Eevee on the Switch, which
Yeah.
is not really even it's great in its own because it's not that similar
Yeah.
to Sword and Shield. So like honestly, I
view the Let's Go games as sort of like a beta for Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
You can see the similarities and you can see the differences. You can see what worked, what didn't work.
yeah.
and they kind of
what
wanted
kept
to see.
in-
They kind of wanted to see with the popularity of the Let's Go Pokemon game on
thing
the
is,
mobile.
I'm not 100% sure they use that to gauge the popularity because they pretty much presented Let's Go as sort of outside, and they know that
Yeah,
their
and it's-
outside properties don't do as well.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Let's Go did better than most of their outside properties, but
Right.
still, like I don't think that was like they were using it as a huge gauge because they knew that
well, yeah,
whatever
but
they
what I'm
stuck the
saying,
new
but-
mainline Pokemon game on, people were going to buy it.
They stuck a lot of it. It seemed like the Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu had a lot of the. I shouldn't say a lot. Had some of the abilities that you would use in the Let's Go game.
Let's
for-
Go games were fun, but it showed why you can't really incorporate a lot of the Pokemon Go aspects into
Right.
the mainline games because my team was hella broken and I didn't have to work that hard for it.
Yeah,
Right,
You
because
could
you just
literally-
catch
you
the
could
same
easily-
Pokemon
yeah,
over and over.
For
and
me,
over.
there was not a single person alive that could one-shot kill anything on my team because I literally caught, like, my Golem specifically. I had a level 70 something Alolan Golem by the time I put the game down and hadn't
Right,
really
and
picked it
the
up.
thing is- and the
And
thing is,
its
the Let's-
stats were ridiculous because the way you farm in that game versus Sword and Shield
Mm-hmm.
are completely different. Like, you can farm in Sword and Shield by just doing raid battles and freaking raising your Pokemon's levels, but in Let's Go, it's more like a stat rise.
Right.
Like,
And the
my
thing-
Golem
and you
had
had
like
good
a
candies.
500 defense stat, which is
Yeah.
like 200 higher than your usual max at level 100.
Go-
and he was
Golem-
only level 70.
Golem was like. Let's Go operate a lot more like Gen 1. And Gen 1 had its power Pokemon, which a lot of people didn't realize.
Yeah.
Like
They were
you
just
talk
absolutely
about these power
ridiculous.
Pokemon now, but in the context of Gen 1, Golem was
Yeah.
was a super hardcore power Pokemon.
Any of the Pokemon that you had to
Tauros-
trade away to evolve were absolute monsters.
it was
Tauros
like
was a
Golem,
monster.
Tauros, Chansey.
Oh
um,
yeah, Chansey's still a monster
You know,
because it can evolve into a Blissey now, and it's oh my
well, yeah,
gosh.
but the thing is, in
Tanky.
like the thing is, even in Let's Go, I don't think Chansey's as good as it was in Gen 1
Definitely.
because of the special split.
Right.
So in Gen 1, Chansey was built to be a special wall, but special was all one stat.
Mm-hmm.
So that super huge special defense stat that Chansey has now Well, that used to also be a special attack stat.
stat because there was no special
Right.
attack
So
and special defense.
So
it was just
when they
special.
when they did the special split, they left Chansey's 160 or whatever special defense, and its special became like 20. Well, you can imagine the difference from one generation to the next.
Right.
When it had both at 160, and you could just sit there and just like flamethrower for obscene, and I can take whatever you throw.
Yeah, no, ridiculously tanky Pokemon.
All right, so we're getting a little long on this episode. So, like I said, we're gonna do another one, and we're gonna actually try to stay on topic a little better.
What's the topic?
We're gonna do. We're gonna talk more about the actual games. We'll start
We
early in the early, the first games, and we'll kind of talk about them as we go. You guys will do more talking than me, but I can talk about the first generation games with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I stopped playing. So, but with that, I will say my talk at you later.
Later.
Bye.